All right, so Tina asks a question about masculine and feminine, how that might present in the body with this work. Does it present on the left side? Does it present on the right side? Are there blocks or patterns that will present in the body that might, in some people, represent a masculine issue or a feminine issue or something like this? The quick answer is no. No, there won't be any differences between man and woman, and there are reasons for this, but I just want to get right to the answer there. Oh, and I want to get right to the mosquito too. Okay, I missed him. So Tina, it's a great question, and I love masculine and feminine concepts and how that works, and I've got very specific definitions of what that means, which sound like they're a bit different than what you're asking. So we would need to clarify terms there. We do not. So briefly, my definition is if you take this moment that we are in, it's one moment, and we split it into two. It's still one moment, but if you split the moment into two parts, you have everything you're seeing right now, seeing, feeling, anything that's actually being produced and will go away, will change. That's all the feminine. That's the feminine half. So right now, me, even though I'm a man, this is all feminine because it's being birthed, and this always changes. It's always changing. Everything you see about me, see about you, feeling, seeing, thinking, hearing, weather, earth, stars, concepts, Arcturians, everything that's ever been created, thought of, concepts, it's all the feminine. It's all light. Now, the only reason why we know that there is light, anything, the only reason why you know that there is a me here talking to you is there's the part of you that woke up this morning, opened your eyes, and saw. And that's the same part of you, that's the exact same part of you, unchanging. The same part of you that woke up this morning, the part of you that's looking at me right now, the part of you that's looking at your thoughts right now, watching your thoughts go through, listening, and processing what it is that I'm saying, agreeing or not agreeing, thinking that I've heard what you asked or didn't hear what you asked. Same part of you that woke up when you were 5 years old, looked out of your eyes. No change. That's the part that is there before we have a body. And it's the part that's there after our body dies. And that's the consciousness. And the consciousness is the only way that we know that there's the feminine, and there's the light. Some people actually think that this is the consciousness is our true identity. And I think that that's can be a masculine or a manly, we'll see, a male way of looking at things. That's why many of the spiritual disciplines that involve meditation actually have mostly men doing them, because men tend to orient themselves or be drawn towards consciousness practices. Women tend to, and this is by no means 100%, right? And this is where sometimes Chris's teachings and my teachings differ a little bit, because Chris Bale, I like what he has to say, and he speaks to a person that needs to know 100% this is how it goes, right? So he's great speaker because he's emotionally convicted, and he's very black and white, in what he says. This is the way it is, which is a really good, powerful way to offer teachings. Is that there's part of us that really needs to hear concretely, this is how things are. So females tend to, we'll say 80% of females tend to have more practices where they're drawn to do more of practices where they're dealing with light and feeling and love and flow, and they set up their lives very differently. There's energetic, emotional flow, right? That's just how you identify. Where a masculine may actually have those parts, or the men may actually, as we all do, because anybody that has a body that's 100% feminine, right? But our internal essence may identify more with the feminine part, the light, the feeling, the emotion, or it may identify more with the masculine, which is just the conscious witness. So there's also gross energy. This is what all of this is gross energy, but then there's subtle energy. And the subtle energy is what happens in the dream state, and that's what starts to move the wave up through the spine. And then there's causal energy, which is deep dreamless state. Now you might actually be me. I'm in my gross presentation energies as a man. My subtle energy might actually be more identified as a female or feminine, and my causal might actually be feminine also. I might be more identified with the feminine and causal and feminine and subtle, but my body might actually be masculine and identification. So then it gets really complicated. So then, Tina, circling around to your other question around how does it present in the body, energy blocks or patterns like this in the body, then it won't actually, because it's too complicated to be. That's an oversimplification is what we'll see. There is some truth to the left side of the body, probably primarily of the right-handed person, but then when you've got left-handed people, they have a different orientation with how they sense and feel out into space and how they process that with their physical body. So it'll change. Remember there's 3 nadis that move up through the spine. There's the Sushumna, which runs right up to the spinal cord, but then there's Ida and Pingala, and one is masculine and one is feminine. Well, what do? They do this all with the spine. What's that doing? It's actually sharing and transmitting and fragmenting and dispersing masculine and feminine throughout the body on both sides, everywhere. So part of what Tina, you're asking about is so what I'm talking about is taking the moment, splitting it. Consciousness is masculine, feminine is everything else light. Now, that's how I'm talking about masculine and feminine. Now, your concept of masculine and feminine is you're asking about types that are in the feminine. You have man and woman, and you're saying masculine and feminine, so that you're talking about 2 types within the feminine container of my definition. So that's how, when you were saying masculine and feminine, that's completely different. That all falls under the feminine container. How will that present in the body, right? And it'll present in the gross body, but how will it present in the subtle body, and how will it present in the causal body, right? So that's where this work is quite in depth. And so far, what we've done is really working with the gross body, just working to get the respiratory, the breath energy, that yang intelligence, that yang intelligence moving through the body, moving through the connective tissue, will help to integrate a man with blocks, regardless if they have to do with psychological issues around being a man or a woman or his relationship there. We don't get to fix that. We don't get to diagnose that block or where that came from. We get to stand back and serve this client by helping to bring the intelligence that's putting him together, access more of him, so it can decide how it wants to reorganize the energies in his experience around particular blocks, so he can feel more safe. He can feel more centered and balanced. If you've got more thoughts or questions on that, it's a good topic. Lots to unpack. Likely this talk by me brought up as many questions as it did answers. Okay.